Good evening, folks, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well tonight. So let's see who's on the stream. We have Super. Great to see you, Super. Tiny Demolition Lover in a second place. Great to have you on, Tiny Demolition Lover. Hope you're very well tonight. We have Rial. Great to see you, Rial. We have Dave. Great to see you. Enzo the God. Great to see you, Enzo. Lenan. Great to have you on. Hope you're well. We have Killer moderating once again. Thanks a lot, Killer. Doing a fantastic job. We have Raven. Great to see you, Raven. Yoni. Great to see you, Yoni. John O'Sullivan. Great to see you, John. Hope you're well. We have CJM. Great to see you, CJ. Hope you're well too. Derek. Hope you're well. Great to have you on. We have Anonymous. Great to have you on, Anonymous. Inconsequential. Did somebody say UBI? I'm like Boris Johnson when Brexit is mentioned. I can't help myself. We have Catherine Jones. Great to see you, Catherine. We have Dano. Great to have you on, Dano. Hope you're well. We also have Jean T. Great to see you, Jean. Hope you're well as well. Hope you're having a great week. We have FSM is the dog. Great to have you on the show once again. Who else have we got? Rondi. Great to see you. Ruth, great to see you. Joe, the Crazy Harry Duck, great to see you once again. Geraldine Doyle, great to have you on. Sugar Free, great to see you. I see you're very active both on my stream and on Graham's stream. We have Joe Magister, great to see you. Ere, great to see you. Paul Clark, great to have you on. Seamasterist, great to see you. Kendra, great to have you on once again, Kendra. We have, well, we're up to 150 viewers. That's fantastic. Child of the Universe, great to see you. Wow, thank you so much, Valerio, for your super chat. Do you think sound words can damage sturgeon? And Bugden as well, thank you so much. Max, when is the March Mankini calendar release? It's coming in March. You have to wait another few days. I know. It's difficult to wait, but so about Alex Salmond. Well, I'm going to get to that in a moment. We can't avoid that news, so I promise it is part of the stream tonight. So thanks to both Valerio and to Bogdan for those kind super chats. Just going very quickly, we have Timmy, Jim, great to see you both. John, great to see you. Red Star, great to have you on. Geek Town, sorry I can't say hello to everyone. We're up to 170 viewers. Smash that like button, guys. It helps the stream. Rial, great to see you. Bogdan, great to have you on, of course, and thanks for that super chat. We have Wee Scott's Dog, great to see you, Wee Scott's Dog. I hope everyone is. Richard Presser, great to see you. Tom Linden, great to have you on. And everyone else who's come on the stream. And apologies, I haven't said hello to everyone, but there are so many people on. So I hope everyone's very well tonight. So many things to talk about tonight. It's been a crazy week. About just to touch on Scotland, I do hope to have a live stream perhaps next week, maybe next Tuesday or next Friday. I need to reach out to Davey, Indie Truck Davey, who I did a chat with before, and he was on Discord, to speak about what's happening in Scotland, because I am an ignoramus when it comes to the situation, especially what's happening this week. So it would be great to have somebody who has their ear to the ground, much better than I have. Someone who can tell us what's happening behind the scenes as well. Lulu's Corner, great to see you once again, Lulu's Corner. Hope you're well. Timmy the Northwall, great to see you. Jack, great to see you. How's it going? Hope it's going very well. Hope you're well too. So let's start off. I promise I will cover what's happening in Scotland to the best of my ability. Universal British insanity. You're trying to hook me into talking about UBI, but I will resist, although resistance is futile, as they say. So I want to start with this article from, I think it's from Microsoft News. Anyway, it says here, DUP minister seeks halt to work. I'm not sure. Okay, halt of work on, or seeks halt to work on post-Brexit border control posts in Northern Ireland ports. So a minister has ordered a halt to work preparing Northern Ireland's ports for looming new rules on trade after with Britain as his party demands changes. So as we know, some of the checks taking place are because of the change in status, because Great Britain is part of, is a third country and Northern Ireland is still part of the single market in regard to goods. It means that there are certain checks being carried out, but some are not because of these grace periods, and some of these grace periods are due to end at the end of March. So the 1st of April is really going to be a massive change taking place. We're going to see a massive change in respect to Brexit, and more checks need to be carried out. And of course, the ports have to be upgraded, new staff have to be hired, everything has to be prepared for, or more things have to be prepared for the 1st of April. But the DUP, who voted for Brexit and are adamant about stopping and destroying the Northern Ireland Protocol, are once again attempting to throw a spanner in the works. So it goes on to say the Northern Ireland, let me just make sure that you guys can see it. Yes, it's a little bit off, but that should be okay. Northern Ireland's Agriculture Minister Gordon Lyons of the Democratic Unionist Party says he ordered a halt to work constructing new purpose-built inspection facilities at ports in Belfast and Larne. New customs rules are set to come into effect in April, when a grace period in the Brexit agreement expires, placing further controls on the flow of goods from Britain to Northern Ireland. Mr. Lyons cited the practical difficulties caused by the Northern Ireland Protocol, which his party has called to be torn up, citing looming uncertainty over the movement of goods. However, opponents have criticised the move as a stunt and suggested that officials may be legally bound to continue work despite the directions of the minister. Yeah, because he's the agriculture minister, but he's not responsible for the ports. This is something to do with probably the Minister of the Interior, whoever the Minister of the Interior, it actually probably fall under the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. It'd be their responsibility. I don't know. Disastrous, useless party. That's the better explanation of the DUP. Deputy First Minister Michelle O'Neill of Sinn Féin noted that when the former DIRPA minister Edwin Poots took a similar stance, his permanent secretary took forward the executive's responsibilities. She added, the protocol is a consequence of Brexit. The DUP championed Brexit and must own the consequences. Business and society need certainty, not stunts. This, of course, is a stunt. It's an attempt to show to the public the DUP are trying to do something about this situation. But this is the new reality. They can't get away from it. And I uploaded a video recently about how the EU and the British government have continued to say that the protocol is working, or the protocol must remain, and the Good Friday Agreement must be respected. Both things that the DUP want to do away with. Mr. Lyons has warned that supply chains in Northern Ireland were unlikely to hold up when the regulatory red tape increases in April, unless rules are changed. The risk to Northern Ireland food supply in these circumstances will remain high, so that there's a lot of practical difficulties with all of this, and that's causing a huge amount of uncertainty. Yes, so there's a huge amount of uncertainty. What I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the uncertainty by attempting to stop the construction at the ports. What's very interesting, well, not interesting, it's very concerning, is that the DUP have been meeting with not loyalist paramilitaries directly, but groups that represent loyalist factions who have connections to, of course, to loyalist paramilitaries. And they've been talking about this protocol and how it needs to be stopped and needs to be thrown away. The DUP are the type of people who, we say, throw the stone and hide the hand. They're willing to exacerbate the situation for their own political gains. They're willing to encourage very unsavoury figures within Northern Ireland politics and the loyalist communities in Northern Ireland, to egg them on, and then step back and say, no, we care about peace. We want to protect all citizens in Northern Ireland. So, for example, the DUP leader Arlene Foster said last month this protocol was that was meant to bring about peace and harmony in Northern Ireland is doing quite the opposite. These people, the Red Hand commandos, for example, this is the consequence of Brexit. The DUP can't attempt to say we need to stop this. You don't throw petrol in Northern Ireland. That's exactly what the DUP want to do. Because what they want eventually is to put a hard border on the island of Ireland in the belief that this will reinforce the connection with the rest of the UK. But they're actually doing the opposite. They could have maintained some sort of... I think the status quo could have maintained a stronger connection with the rest of the UK if it wasn't for Brexit. By them voting and campaigning for Brexit, they've pushed Northern Ireland closer to a situation where a united Ireland will come about. Thank you, Buck. You better be wearing a suit or else. I hope you guys enjoyed that video today. It really pissed me. Thanks once again, Bogdan, for that super chat. It really pisses me off that Boris Johnson can lie. Boris Johnson can ignore the question. He can invent his own question and respond to that. And the Speaker of the House will sit there and do nothing. But as soon as someone comes on not wearing a shirt and tie, then all hell breaks loose. You know, if I were that MP, I would have responded. Unfortunately, he was a Tory MP. But if he was not a Tory MP, I would have responded and said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Is it a problem for me wearing this? Yes, it's a problem. But if I lie, is that a problem? No, that's not a problem. Ah, okay. Thanks for clearing that up." Someone just about these rules in Parliament. Somebody on, I think it was Fred. I don't remember Fred's surname. He's in the comment section on one of the videos. If he's on the stream, hi Fred, and thanks for this suggestion. Well, not for a suggestion for me, but a suggestion for Keir Starmer. When Keir Starmer during Prime Minister's questions asks Boris Johnson a question, and Boris Johnson doesn't answer the question, and then the Speaker asks Keir Starmer to ask his next question, Keir Starmer should just remain seated. And they will ask, do you not have another question? And Keir Starmer should respond, no, I'm still waiting for the first question to be answered. Maybe when the first question is answered, then I'll get up and ask the second one. You know, I understand there are rules that the Speaker can't force Boris Johnson to answer questions, but he could, use a passive-aggressive approach. Something like, I'm sorry, Prime Minister, you didn't quite answer the question. Would you like to have another go? Something like that. Or, Prime Minister, are you sure you answered the question? We're waiting for you to answer the question. Tell us when you've finished. Tell us when you've answered the question, and then we can move on. Because obviously Boris Johnson doesn't answer questions. So yes, that was an excellent suggestion. And thanks to Fred. If Fred's on the stream, hopefully he is. He should be commended for that. Unreal, not normal, extreme. The Speaker doesn't even squeak. Yeah. For all women MPs under 30, clothing can be optional. I hated wearing a tie. I know ties are a throwback to some aspect of colonialism, as far as I remember. Should do a research on the origin of the tie, because I think it's something that was, I don't remember. It's maybe a phallic symbol, but there's some aspect of wearing a tie that's related to colonialism, but I don't remember. Ira, thank you so much for that super chat. If you think the DUP are extreme, check out the TUV. I'm not familiar with the TUV. They must be new, because I remember the UVF and the LVF. So the TUV, I'm not familiar. Can you tell me what's the acronym TUV? Unionist Volunteers or something, or Ulster Volunteers. The Ulster Volunteers, maybe. But normally the T isn't included, so. Iranians do not wear ties as it's seen as Western culture. I've noticed that, yes. The tie covers your button shirt. Okay. That's a weird thing. I remember in traditional unionist voice. Okay, thanks for that, guys. That must be something new, because it didn't exist about 10, 15 years ago. I think that's Jim Allister's party. Jim Allister used to be a member of the DUP, as far as I remember. Okay, let's move on. So, I just want to show you this part of a BBC report with Eileen Foster talking about the situation, and of course lying about what the I'm looking at UB in the chat, or what the EU did. So,
post-Brexit era, Northern Ireland has its own relationship with the EU. It's called the Northern Ireland Protocol, and that's causing problems in its relationship with the rest of the UK.
The protocol.
It's not the protocol that's creating the problems. It's Brexit itself that's creating the problems. Like, I'm a bit disappointed by the BBC by saying that the protocol is creating the problems. It's not the protocol. It's Brexit. It's a consequence of Brexit.
The protocol has betrayed us and has made us feel like foreigners in our own country. Tea and sympathy will not.
Tea and sympathy. But how can you feel like a foreigner in your own country when this is related to goods? Unless Ian Og is a good, Ian Og being a joke, Og is young in Irish, or junior in Irish. This is Ian Paisley Jr. But unless he is a product, I don't know why he's so concerned.
Not cut the mustard. So, what is the Prime Minister actually going to do?
We will do everything we need to do, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that there is no barrier down the Irish Sea.
Tomorrow.
This isn't a recording from, 2 years ago. Boris Johnson continues to say there's no border in the Irish Sea.
The UK government and the EU Commission meet to try and resolve some of the protocol problems. But unionists are demanding that the protocol is scrapped altogether.
People need to listen to what we're saying. They need to take heed of what is being said by the unionist community, and I hope that the message has been heard in London and in Dublin and Brussels.
Listen to the unionist community. Thank you, Eire, for that super chat. The DUP were too soft on policies, and too left-wing. For the unionist voice, the traditional unionist voice, the DUP are too left-wing. The DUP are way to the right of the Conservative Party. Okay, for people who don't know, the DUP are on the right of the Conservative Party, and the traditional unionist voice believe the DUP are too far to the left. Okay. I don't know. I know that, well, some people within the DUP are maybe not flat earthers, but they're what do you call it? New Earth, young Earth creationists. So they believe that the Earth was created in 6 days. and then God rested on the seventh day. These people actually believe this. It's not like a metaphor or it's an actual belief that they have. Fundamentalist Christians. They want to ban abortion, for example, completely, while the rest of the UK believe that, the women have the right to choose. These people are so British that they hate the rest of the UK when it comes to the issue of abortion. They don't want, and when Westminster said when Westminster was pushing to allow abortion, to have Northern Ireland aligned with the rest of the UK on the issue of abortion, the DUP said, no, we're Irish, remember? we're not British, okay? we're going to tear up our passports to prove that we're not British on the issue of abortion. On everything else, yes, we're Flat Earth Society. They have members all over the globe. Against gay marriage too, exactly. And then, what I find funny about people who are against gay marriage is, especially, I don't know about individuals, but politicians, 6 months later, they're found, shimmying down the drain pipe at a gay party or something in Amsterdam or in Rotterdam. I don't remember where it was. In the Netherlands anyway, somewhere in the Netherlands. A sex party, obviously not a gay sex party. A guy from Hungary who wrote a law in the Hungarian parliament against gay marriage, saying that marriage is sacrosanct. It's the union between one man and one woman. And then he was caught. Well, most of you probably heard the story about the MEP who was caught shimmying down the drain pipe from a gay sex party. Oh my God. Okay. So, I'm sure there are some people within the DUP who are very full on for traditional, marriage, but what they do at the weekend, we don't know. It was in Belgium. Sorry, Belgium, not the Netherlands. Sorry, apologies. Joseph, correct.
Tonight, Spotlight examines the practical problems of the protocol.
That when there's 752 commodity codes, 752 items or lanes on that particular trailer, that would take somebody between 4 and 6 hours to set that up.
The potential opportunities.
By the 1st of January, it was seamless trade. We sell a lot of our product to the European market. To Italy, France, Spain, we sell it further afield.
And the political tensions that could now threaten the workings of the peace agreement the protocol was supposed to protect.
Unfortunately, the border down the Irish Sea isn't invisible, and therefore it's affecting almost every home in terms of delivery of parcels or plants or whatever it is. And that visibility has no doubt created tensions, and as somebody described it in unionism to be, as a palpable anger across the whole of the unionist community.
Then there is a perfectly simple solution. The perfectly simple solution is to scrap Brexit. Why aren't the unionists, the unionists should be hammering Boris Johnson, stop Brexit. If we cancel Brexit, okay, you can't cancel Brexit at this stage, rejoin the single market and the customs union. This would eliminate this problem. It would eliminate it overnight if you could get into the single market and customs union overnight. But what the problem is that they're unionists against the Northern Ireland Protocol, and replace it with what? Replace it with what? They want to replace it with nothing. They want the UK to basically break the withdrawal agreement and then to fall back out of the agreements of the withdrawal agreement. So then it would go to WTO rules, and then under WTO rules the EU would say to the UK, there needs to be controls. We're going to go to the WTO, and the WTO says, yes, we agree with you, there need to be controls, and there would be a hard border on the island of Ireland, and that would be in conflict with the Good Friday Agreement. All to keep Brexiteers in the DUP happy. Now, I don't see this happening. I really hope it doesn't happen, because Boris Johnson then later on, he wants a trade deal with the United States. And if the United States saw Boris Johnson tearing up something to keep Brexiteers within the DUP happy, there's no benefit for Boris Johnson in tearing up the Northern Ireland Protocol or the Good Friday Agreement, or the Good Friday Agreement, even for that matter, or the Withdrawal Agreement. There's no benefit for Boris Johnson. The DUP have no power here. They can whinge, they can complain, they can stamp their feet, but they have no power here. The only power that they have is threats of violence. Now, they won't do it themselves, but they have their subsidiaries, they have their auxiliaries that they will be ready to pressure, to egg on. That's the DUP for you. They want a border on the island of Ireland. They don't care what happens after that. They don't care if Republican paramilitaries start to, unearth weapons that they've put beyond, quote unquote, beyond use. They don't care about that. They don't care if people die. They don't care if members of the security forces die. It's all irrelevant to them. They just want a border on the island of Ireland. But I don't see that happening. The EU don't want it. The British government don't want it. And the Irish government don't want it. The only people who want it are the DUP. And even an extreme within the DUP. Bugton, thanks so much for that super chat. The DUP are like a pair of balls. They just dangle around and are useless most of the time. And from time to time, they make you uncomfortable. Well said. Yes, exactly. And they're extremely, delicate. Let me read some more of your chat. The DUP make Jacob Rees-Mogg look forward-thinking. Exactly. The DUP secretly want a hard border with the Republic of Ireland. Adrian is right. That's what they want. They will say that they don't want, but at the end of the day, what is the alternative? The alternative is, there are two alternatives to a border in the Irish Sea. Being part of the single market and the customs union with the rest of the UK. They don't want that. Or a border on the island of Ireland. And they're mentioning nothing about that. Because as soon as you present to them, there was the option of having Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK within the single market and the customs union, and they said, that's not Brexit. We voted for Brexit. We wanted Brexit. That's not Brexit. That's not the Brexit that the people of the UK voted for. They're very clear to say the people of the UK, not the people of Northern Ireland. When it comes to certain issues, they're saying the people of Northern Ireland. When it comes to other issues, when it comes to Brexit, they say the people of the UK. Because they know that the people of Northern Ireland, the majority, voted against Brexit. I really wish the DUP would just go away. Because they add nothing. They just create more problems. And I think if you actually sat down with the union, the loyalist community, and explained the situation to them clearly, in an adult way, I think most of them would say, okay, Boris Johnson tricked us. This is the reality now. We have to live with it. But the DUP are saying, no, we don't have to live with that. We can get something else. DUP and their auxiliaries stand back and stand by. Exactly, Pete. Well said. Wow, 321 views. Smash that like button, guys. Okay, let's move on. But this situation is going to continue for a while until, unfortunately, I fear somebody from these loyalist paramilitaries are going to harm someone, or perhaps worse. And then this will create a new dynamic, I'm afraid. And the British government will have to respond to it. And unfortunately, the British government is led by Boris Johnson, who doesn't care about the people of Northern Ireland, doesn't care about the situation there. He's not a level-headed individual who'd say, okay, we need to calm the tensions here, reduce the tension. No. He's the worst person you could have in charge. At least Theresa May would be human enough to say, okay, this is a difficult situation, we need to sort it out. You don't have to agree with the EU, you don't have to agree with Brexit or disagree with Brexit, but we don't want anyone being harmed in this situation. But this is a consequence of Brexit. And I've tried to challenge Brexit members of the DUP on Twitter about this. I tried to write to them, I tried to send them direct messages. They don't respond, of course. But I tried to challenge them. I said, this is the consequence of Brexit. Now, there is a solution. Rejoin the single market and the customs union, and they don't want to hear about it. Okay, let's sticking with Brexit, of course, London to lose out to New York under draft EU Finance Services Agreement. It just more and more good news because of Brexit. We saw how Amsterdam is benefiting from Brexit. Paris is benefiting from Brexit. Of course, for a long time now, Dublin has been benefiting from Brexit. Now it's New York, which isn't even in the EU. The City of London's finance industry would be worse off than New York under an early draft for the cooperation agreement in finance services between Britain and the EU. An early draft of the Memorandum of Understanding, first seen by Reuters, has less substance than a deal the EU agreed with the United States in 2016. Britain's financial services industry has been largely cut out from the EU, its biggest customer, since the Brexit transition period ended on the 31st December, as the sector is not covered by the UK-EU trade deal. Trading in EU shares and derivatives, for example, has already left Britain for continental Europe. Both sides are committed to agreeing a memorandum of understanding by the end of March on regular informal talks about financial rules and market supervision. This is the start of a negotiation. The Commission proposed text is clearly more limited than the UK's ambition, said Chris Bates, a financial services lawyer at Clifford Chance. Brussels can grant direct market access for foreign financial companies if it deems their home market rules are as robust as the EU's own standards, a system known as equivalence. So the UK can gain equivalence if the EU say, yeah, we give it. Basically, so much for taking back control. A person familiar with Britain's negotiating position said that the UK's focus is on making sure that the Memorandum of Understanding provides transparency and appropriate dialogue when it comes to adopting, suspending or withdrawing equivalence decisions. Currently, the EU can, in theory, scrap equivalence decisions with just 30 days' notice. Under the US deal with the EU, equivalence is treated as outcomes-based. Britain has called for EU equivalence also to be outcome-based, which would ensure that the focus would be on whether financial rules in Britain and the EU produce the same result. But there's no mention of an outcome-based equivalent in the draft EU-UK memorandum. So once again, the Boris Johnson's government demand things, but they're in no position to demand things. Once again, the EU would say, yeah, if you agree with our standards, then we'll give you equivalence. It's not the other way around. It's not Britain saying, no, if you agree with our standards, EU, you can have equivalence on our terms. Once again, Brexiteers seem to think that they are in control here. They're not. They're dancing to the European tune. And while the Brexiteers were able to sell that idea that the EU is dancing to the UK tune for a while, are there any Brexiteers who still think that the UK has the power anymore when it comes to the negotiations? He's called Mr. Bates. Don't expect him to be taken seriously. Smash that like button, folks. Yes. Jim, thank you so much for that super chat. Sheepy eye now. Sheepy eye now. I don't understand. Sheep be eye now. Ah, no. You be because I saw sheep. Okay. You be you're very mean. Thank you so much for that. I'm getting dragged into UBI discussions, of course. So subtle, yes. UBI. I just want to Yoni says granting equivalence is a unilateral decision of the European Council. That means denied unless granted. The UK wanted that change to granted unless denied. The EU tells the UK to sit on it. Lady sheep. Are you Welsh? Me? I'm not Welsh. You? Yes. Okay, everyone. I understand. I'm slow. Okay, I'm not great tonight. Okay. Let's move on. Shall I talk about UBI? I have to say that Graham is setting up. If you're not, well, some of you are probably familiar because you follow Graham's streams as well. UBR, Universal Basic Radio. Now he has reached out to me to get on board with it, and I'm definitely on board in a how can I say, in an emotional way. But as soon as I finish some offline projects, I definitely will be fully on board with UBR. And he's even promised me a slot during the day, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not sure how it will work. We'll be receiving calls, I think. That would be really nice. Graham Hughes. So I'm really looking for. I'm a bit all over the shop when it comes to talking, as you guys can confirm. But I think it'd be interesting taking calls and responding to calls. We're hoping to do it sometime maybe after James O'Brien. Yeah, to steal, not to steal his thunder, because we wouldn't want to clash with him. But it'd be nice, after James O'Brien in the morning, we could do something for an hour. We could take calls. I really looking forward to the idea of taking calls, because it's nice reading the chat, but it'd be nice to have some people call in. So I think Graham is setting that up at the moment, and he has a few people he'd like to have on as well. So I'd love to be part of that. It sounds really cool. Okay, about UBI. So, well, I will get to UBI because the budget is coming. So wouldn't it be a great idea to talk about UBI during the budget? Will you wear a tie? Of course. It's like when you're at home, if you're in Parliament or at home, you have to wear the same attire. Conservative will sort your section out for you. Thank you, Conservator. And I promise I won't throw it in the bin like the last time. Okay, let's move on. I definitely, don't worry, I will get to UBI in a little bit. Experts criticise, just keep an eye on the time, experts criticise Boris Johnson for putting dates in COVID roadmap. I said this, look, as soon as Boris Johnson had released his new roadmap, he said, we're not putting, we're following data, not dates. Now, on the 8th of March and the 22nd of April and in June, you have to say, when we reach this level, then we will reopen. But I know he won't do that, because that would be actually treating the public with respect and not like idiots. And he's always afraid, as I've said before, always looking over his shoulder. Oh, there's the, what do you call them? Not the ERG, but the CRG, the COVID recovery group. Brexit hardman, Steve Baker, who's sniping at me from the sides. I always need to be ready to respond to these people. No, stop listening to these people. These people are not to be listened to. They're basically COVID deniers. Okay, stop listening to them. They're crazy. They're lunatics. You need to listen to SAGE and listen to the scientists. And they're not saying open on the 8th of April or open pubs on the 27th of March. These people are saying, no, you need to look at the data. If the numbers come down, then we can open some part of the economy or some part of society when we reach this threshold, we reach this target. But I guess it's better than what was, the case before. So it says Boris Johnson's decision to include dates in his proposed roadmap out of the third lockdown in England is a dangerous strategy that risks undermining adherence to COVID-19 rules, behavioural scientists have said. The Prime Minister's message that government policies around reopening will be guided by data, not dates, could be overshadowed by the use of dates. The roadmap, said Stephen Reacher, a professor of social psychology at the University of St Andrews and a member of SPIB, the behavioural science subgroup of the Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, SAGE. Data not dates has turned into dates not data, said Richer, who added that the choice of midsummer day for a possible return to normality was incredibly powerful symbolic messaging. Because whatever you say, once you announce clear dates, you create facts on the ground which alter the reality and create a situation where it's very difficult to shift from those dates. Exactly like Christmas. Remember at the time we had said, look, maybe we should celebrate Christmas in the summer. And I actually remember doing it on one of the live streams. I said, perhaps we could have a better summer, a better Christmas, a real Christmas where people are happy to be together because they're happy to be together. Not when people are normally at Christmas when you're pushed, to be together with relatives that you don't really like, but you say, okay, well, I have to be with them because it's Christmas. It's an artificial holiday, an artificial gathering. Maybe I'm being very downer here, but imagine imagine a Christmas where you want to be with the people. I think it would have been much better. But Boris saved Christmas, and at the end, how many extra deaths were there? 20,000, was it? 30,000 because of the reopening at Christmas. So, yeah, we're going to reopen on Midsummer's Day, or everything will be done, everything will be back to normal on the 27th of June. Why? I understand it's to, perhaps in a way, to give people the idea that, okay, I can book my holiday because Boris said everything will be back to normal. JD, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. It goes on to say, proof that people were already using the dates to plan was seen as a huge surge in holiday bookings. There we go. And the announcement of events such as the Reading and Leeds Festival going ahead. He said, using dates created psychological, economic and political counter pressures that could make changing dates increasingly difficult. Of course, because if Boris Johnson said everything will be open, okay, let's say on the 1st of June, everything will be open again, then people are going to book holidays for after the 1st of June, or maybe even on the 1st of June. People will prepare for the 1st of June, expecting it to be their date to return to normal. And then if the infections increase, or they don't decrease enough to hit that target on that 1st of June or whatever, people are the government are going, oh crap, we have to reopen because we told people we're going to reopen even if the transmission is still quite high. He goes on to say, relying solely on the vaccine deployment to curb transmission was a very serious mistake, added Richer. When you have high levels of transmission, the virus is more able to replicate, he said. The more the virus replicates, the higher chance of getting mutations. The more mutations, the higher the chance of a variant which evades the vaccine. And then you've undermined the vaccine. There is, I fear, in Boris Johnson's strategy is the vaccine will save us. And then when we get enough people vaccinated, we can just reopen everything and go back to normal. And I'm sure the scientists are saying to him, no, you cannot do that. You need to vaccinate, but you need to maintain the restrictions in place. Otherwise, we're going to get these variants. And then we're going to have more mutations and more variants. I'm hearing about new variants almost every week. Ironic is well, not ironic, but it's curious. In England, there is the Kent variant. Here in Italy, they call it the English variant. It's not called the English variant in England for some reason, because I guess it needs to be more specific. Okay, let's move on. So I want to show you this report from Channel 4 News about vulnerable young people who've been refused the jab, even though doctors have been telling them that it's necessary to have it. This is extremely concerning.
It's been a week of renewed hope for many people in England.
We cannot persist indefinitely with restrictions that have separated families and loved ones for too long, kept pupils out of school.
An answer to the when and how life will creep back to normality.
Thanks to the vaccinations, there is light ahead.
But for families with children who are clinically extremely vulnerable but unable to get the vaccine, their roadmap is less clear.
I was expecting that there would be some news for us. And when I listened to the announcement, I listened to everything. I sat there for 3 hours listening to it all, hoping that somebody might ask the question, what's happening to children who are shielding? And in the same week that we were told to carry on shielding and don't send her back to school, I had to sit and watch 3 hours of people saying how wonderful it is, hope's on the horizon. Every child matters, every child's going to go back to school. It's so important they all go back to school. And we got a letter saying don't send her back to school, and also she can't get the vaccine.
Evie.
Because we tend to think about once we have the vaccine, we think everyone is able to receive the vaccine. But of course, different vaccines have their own limitations. I know people who have underlying health conditions who are concerned about, for example, the AstraZeneca vaccine and are waiting for the Pfizer vaccine. But some people are outside that altogether, and they can't receive any vaccine. And I think this is something that we've forgotten about. They can't stay isolated forever, because even though we have the vaccine, there will still be cases in the general population. We're a long way from eliminating the virus itself, completely eliminating it from in its existence. It takes years to eradicate, for example, smallpox. We've eradicated smallpox, but it took years and a lot of investment and massive cooperation to eliminate smallpox. This is a different virus, and we're a long way away from eradicating it. I do think we can eradicate it someday, but we're still a long way away from that.
His 13-year-old daughter, Catherine, has Down syndrome and respiratory issues that mean she needs a ventilator at night. Conditions that make her extremely vulnerable to viruses and have put her in intensive care before. But because the vaccine isn't approved for children, she's been unable to get it, despite the guidance allowing for the vaccine to be given off licence in some exceptional cases, and Catherine's doctors saying she should be vaccinated.
If we're relying on the vaccine being approved for children, that's a deadline. I don't know how far away that is. But what happens if it isn't approved? What do we do then? So we don't know.
Some people will think, well,
it hasn't yet been tested on children, so surely we need to wait.
With all of these things, there's always a balance, and you're always looking at all the risks. Where are the risks? And you have to consider what the balance is. You know, that I equate it to, you know, getting a phone call from your teenage child who's running down the road because there's a madman chasing them with a knife, and you have to decide whether to tell them to run across a busy road or not. And if you say don't cross the road, how long have they got to run for? You know, and that's what it's like. It's like, how long do we have to go on for until we know there's an answer?
The charity Contact, which supports families with disabled children, say there are over 60,000 children on the shielding list in the UK at the moment.
Families of clinically extremely vulnerable children can feel completely in the dark. They've been shielding now for more than a year. Children have gone without health appointments, they've gone without therapies. You know, it's a really desperate situation. Families deserve to understand when the vaccine for children will be available. They need a roadmap out of lockdown like other families.
The Royal College of Paediatrics say children over the age of 12 with specific vulnerabilities should be eligible for the vaccine now, but there's still hope of more freedom for those who aren't.
I think there is an end in sight for these families because once there is a broad vaccination across the adult population, community transmission will drop. Hopefully we will have some more data on vaccination in children. So I think the message should be that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that there is a plan, and that this isn't going to go on forever.
Evie welcomes the news this week that her other children can go back to school soon. But while transmission is still high, she knows the risk to Catherine that comes with that. She hopes that, like the decision earlier this week to allow all adults with severe learning disabilities to get a priority vaccine, the same common sense will be applied to Catherine and other extremely clinically vulnerable teenagers like her.
You miss everyone?
Yes.
Will you be happy when you can go back to school?
I will be.
Let's hope that the light at the end of the tunnel isn't so far away, because I think we're all going through a difficult period at the moment, but some people are going through a much more difficult period than others. Okay, I just want to show you this video from Professor Van Tam, who I disagreed with recently, but he's basically saying, look, things are improving at the moment, let's not wreck it now. And then we'll take our little break, I promise.
From Secretary of State, we have now completed 19 million first doses of vaccine. We've given those first doses very successfully to cohorts, priority cohorts 1 to 4, and we're moving at some speed through cohorts 5 to 6. But these are first doses. People do need a second dose.
Well, good that somebody's actually finally saying this, instead of Matt Hancock saying, everything is good, we've vaccinated more than anyone else in the rest of the world.
And given that the totality of the cohorts 1 to 9, the priority cohorts, is about 30 million people, each of whom need 2 doses of vaccine. By my rough calculations, there are something like 40 million doses still to be given. So much as it's encouraging, and much as I am really very upbeat about vaccines and how they are going to change how we live and what the disease is like between now and the summer, there is a long way to go. And my inbox in the last week has been besieged with people writing in saying, I've had the vaccine, essentially, can I now start to break the rules? Can I go and see my grandchildren? Can I do X, Y, and Z? And the answer to that is no. We are not yet collectively, as a country, in the right place. And all of the patients that I vaccinate, and they'll know it if they're listening on the TV, I say to them, and remember, all of the rules still apply to all of you and all of us until we're in a much safer place. It doesn't change because you've had your first dose of vaccine. And so, please don't be tempted to think well, one home visit might be all right now. Weather's getting better. Going to be a nice weekend. One small gathering in your house won't really matter. I'm afraid it does, and the data on the slides speak for themselves. So my kind of key message tonight is, look, this is all going very well, but there are some worry signs that people are relaxing, taking their foot off the brake at exactly the wrong time. It's a bit like being 3-0 up in a game and thinking, well, we can't possibly lose this now. But how many times have you seen the other side take it 4-3? Do not wreck this now. It is too early to relax. Just continue to maintain discipline and hang on. Just a few more months. Do not wreck this now. We are...
He's right. Unless you are going to test your eyesight, then you can break the rules. No, I'm joking. But yes, a huge amount of progress has been made. Let's not focus too much on the second, how many people have not received the second vaccine, but the first vaccine. And things are moving definitely in the right direction. I am concerned about Boris Johnson's decision to go with dates, not data, because I think, as we've seen in the previous report, this is going to put in people's mind an artificial date being the date we end the lockdown or the date we return to normal. And it'd be very difficult, as we get closer to that date, Boris Johnson being able to keep his promise. He shouldn't have made a promise in the first place. I think, as I've said, since the beginning of this pandemic, we need to look at cases. How many cases do we have? When we get to below a certain threshold or a certain number of cases, then we can start to say, okay, now we've arrived at this point. We can start to ease the lockdown. We've seen it in other countries. We've seen it in New Zealand, for example, where they said, look, we've a certain amount of time with no new cases or no deaths, then we're going to reopen. Now we're going to allow people their freedoms back. Anyway, guys, let's take a little break because it's getting quite serious, and it's important not to be too serious. So I want to show you a funny little video from my good friends at the Ian Duncan Smiths. So enjoy.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your members and the left. I mean the bare necessities, like silencing your CLPs. I've got a haircut Britain can elect. Wherever I'm shifting, wherever I lunch, you fuckers need shifting from my broad church. My owners develop properties to make some money just for me. When you look into the Red Bull seats and take a peek at the favourite broadsheets and maybe write for a few, the bare necessities of life will come to you. They'll come to you.
The Blair necessities. Look, I am a fan of Keir Starmer to a certain extent. I am quite critical of him as well, but I liked that little song. So thanks to I think it was Killer who had recommended it. So Robert, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. Hi Max, what's your opinion on the Russian Sputnik 5 vaccine? It was unfairly, in my opinion, dismissed by cynicism in the West, Western media, when it first came out, but there seems to be some backpedaling now. Yes, I was actually reading about how, I think it was The Lancet. So The Lancet is the gold standard when it comes to medicine in the UK, for example, and perhaps even worldwide. The Lancet, I think, as far as I know, The Lancet carried out a report on it, and they said that it's perfectly safe and it's extremely, it's working. It doesn't have any problems or doesn't have any side effects, but they have said that it's perfectly fine. And I think, at the beginning, some people were skeptical because of Vladimir Putin, which was somewhat understandable. But this is developed by Russian scientists. It's not developed by Vladimir Putin. So I think it was unfair to dismiss it at the beginning. And I think at the moment the European Union are planning to purchase, I don't know how many millions of vaccines from Russia of the Sputnik 5 vaccine, and I welcome that. I think if it's been proven by an outside body, an independent body, to function, to be something we can use, then we should use it. We should welcome all. Thanks very much for that super chat. Ira, thank you so much for that. Cool. You're cool too. You guys rock. You rock, and everyone here on the stream rocks as well. I hope I answered your question, Robert. Keir Starmer is trying to attract people who wouldn't normally vote Labour. Yeah, look, I'm not. I don't want to be overly critical of Keir Starmer. Russia was the first country in space. That's right. They live tested it. Wasn't it Vladimir Putin's daughter or granddaughter? I don't remember. I think it was his daughter who received the vaccine. AstraZeneca and Pfizer are both working on vaccines mixed with Sputnik 5. It's an excellent and cheap vaccine. Didn't Russia test their vaccine on their army? They just made... they must have been pretty confident it was at least safe if they did. Yeah, I think so. Yes, thank you. And thank you for the super chat. I think he's always been a Tory. It was Vladimir Putin's daughter that it was tested on. Does Keir care? Bird Nest Ratfest. I love that name. Bird Nest Ratfest. Yeah, I think he does care. I think Keir Starmer is... Look, once again, I may be falling into one of my own traps where I'm believing that somebody is playing 4D chess. Somebody is playing a long game, and we can't see the long game. You know, that these people are Machiavellian in their movements, in their political movements, and we're just too ignorant to understand. Although I had made the same mistake, I'd made the assumption that Jeremy Corbyn was doing that, and then Jeremy Corbyn walked into Boris Johnson's trap. In a sense, it wasn't so much Boris Johnson's trap, but it was the SNP and the Liberal Democrats, in a sense, trap. Boris Johnson sort of was part of it as well. But, you know, it wasn't necessary for Jeremy Corbyn to call for an election, even though the SNP and the Liberal Democrats wanted one. He should have resisted, because he you know, they're the smaller parties. They shouldn't be dictating the policy. They benefited. Well, one of them did. Liberal Democrats didn't really benefit. The SNP benefited hugely from the election. But, dear Lord Max, people said Trump was playing 4D chess at one point. I don't think I ever said he was. If I did, I need a slap on the knuckles for that. But I don't ever believe I said that he was playing 4D chess. People within perhaps the Republican Party may have been attempting it, but I thought Corbyn was doing that. I thought because Jeremy Corbyn was, you know, he has been in Parliament since 1983. You know, he's not wet behind the ears. He's not a spring chicken either. So I thought, who am I to say Jeremy Corbyn is wrong or Jeremy Corbyn is doing the wrong thing? But it turned out I was right and he was wrong. It's difficult for any opposition party at the moment. Yes, that's true, sister. Keir beats Boris out of the stratosphere any day of the century. He ain't great, but he's a Gandhi compared to Johnson. I still think Keir Starmer is missing name recognition. And I do think what was hopeful recently was that he said that he wants to go out and meet people, but he can't because of COVID. He'd like to go out and meet with the members of the public. He wants to meet with businesses and communities. That's if the reason he's not doing it at the moment is because of COVID. I think that's a reasonable excuse. But I really hope that once COVID is dealt with, he's going to go and meet with the fishing communities that voted for Brexit. Speak to them and say, look, you voted for it, I didn't, but let's work together to try and sort this out. Let's try and, fix the problem of Brexit. He needs to do something. He needs to meet with business owners to try and sell the idea of maybe rejoining the single market and the customs union. It doesn't have to be about rejoining the EU, okay? Just rejoin the single market and the customs union to get over this problem, to reopen the market for these businesses. This market is pretty much closed at the moment. Boris Johnson sold them a lie. I'm here to try and fix it. I think he needs to present himself as a fixer, someone who's going to fix the problem. Boris Johnson created the problem. Boris Johnson isn't interested in fixing the problem. I'm here to fix the problem. And maybe he can sell himself as that. Keir the fixer. Keir the carer. I don't know, something like that. He needs a slogan. He needs to get Dominic Cummings on board to invent some slogans for him. Anyway, I want to, as we're talking about Keir Starmer, I want to talk about taxes. So in Parliament, of course, they were talking about council tax. Keir the caretaker. Keir folds like a cheap suit. You can't fix Brexit. No. Brexit is broken beyond repair. It does not work like that. Less of Mr. Nice Guy. I believe Keir Starmer. I believe Starmer has it in him. I mean, please. The bar to beat is pretty darn low, isn't it? Yeah, it's... I feel, and maybe I said in the last one, he should just, from time to time, just let out an F-bomb. Fuck's sake, Boris. Something like this. People would sit up and listen. Doesn't have to be for something positive. People, what? What did he say? It'll go viral, of course. But I think it would show him as somebody who... But it has to be about, not because Boris didn't have his hair combed or something like that, but it has to be, Boris said something like, we don't care about, the poor or something like that. That's what he needs to be pissed off about. He needs to be pissed off about things that are important to ordinary people. The NHS being sold off. The universal credit uplift being taken away, which will probably be taken away in the budget. Or it'd be replaced with some other crap, like, it's worth about £1,000 a year. There's talk of Rishi Sunak cutting it to 500 and then selling it as, look, we're giving you £500. Yay! Aren't we great? Typical politicians' way of, giving you 2 and then taking away 3. It's always in the budget. People always look at, look at what they've cut in the budget, cut the cost of cigarettes, but they've increased the price of alcohol, the taxes on alcohol. Anyway, Keir Starmer under pressure to back plans for corporation tax rise. This is a no-brainer in my opinion, but Keir Starmer is under pressure to back a future rise in corporation tax after a backlash when the Labour leader said he would oppose any new tax on business in next week's budget. Treasury officials are believed to be looking at increasing the tax on company profits from the current rate of 19% to up to 25% as the government tries to recoup some of the massive debts incurred during the pandemic, though the rise may be delayed until later in the Parliament. Ira, thank you so much for the super chat. Max, would be good to do the Shamima Begum case. Big news. No, Ah, yes, the Shamima Begum. Sorry. That'll get me into some hot water, I think. Lick it. It's not for Starmer. It's not for Starmer. But as you said, it is. Let me see if I can bring it up here. I had it open before. But as you sent me a super chat, I'll do a quick response to it. So she loses fight to restore UK citizenship after Supreme Court ruling. Shamima Begum, who fled Britain as a schoolgirl to join the Islamic State in Syria, has failed to restore her British citizenship after a Supreme Court ruling said that she had lost her case. The judgment on Friday from the UK's highest court is critical and controversial test case of the UK policies to strip the citizenship of Britons who went to join ISIS and are being detained by Syrian Kurdish groups without trial. This I disagree with. It's not because of her, and I've said this in the past. I've said because you can't create laws for individuals. You should not create, well, you can, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't create laws. Oh, look, we don't like this person, so let's create a law, or let's not create a law, but create a precedent because of one person. Because people are angry with one person. Begum. I was right. I was in Begum. Begum. Sorry. Thanks for that, Vicky. You miss Max talking UBI, Nicole. I will get back to UBI, I promise. But I don't agree with this. She should be allowed to return, and she should stand trial in the UK, and she should be convicted by a jury of her peers, and she should go to prison and spend a long time in prison, because she is not just the case that she broke the law, but she also has not renounced, as far as I know, she hasn't renounced the positions that she held when she was a member of the Islamic State. So it's different from somebody who said, "Look, I want to come back, and I renounce the Islamic State. I don't agree with them." That's a different scenario. That's somebody who can be redeemed, but she should be returned, and she should be put in prison, because the problem here is that it creates a precedent. Begum, Yorkshire lass. It creates a precedent where the British government can take away people's citizenship from now on. Now you say, well, but this was a bad person. Yes, but they could take it away from anyone. They could say anyone's a bad person. Oh, you disagree with Boris Johnson? We're taking away your citizenship. You disagree with the Conservative Party? Oh, we're taking away your citizenship. We think because you disagree with the Conservative Party, you're a threat to the country. We're going to take away your citizenship. I know since, blue passports on Brexit, the citizenship is worth a little bit less than it was a year ago, but the point still stands. The UK should not derive citizens of their citizenship. Shamima Begum should be returned and tried in a UK court. I agree, Joe. Matt Hancock also broke the law, but he got away with it. Yes, of course. But he was saving lives, remember? Well, actually not saving lives. He was looking for PPE. Actually, no, he wasn't looking for PPE. He was delaying the paperwork that would have shown that he was handing out contracts to his friends and donors. 15, she was so young. If you join a foreign army, you lose citizenship of the country you were born. There are exceptions, but this is usually the rule. So if somebody was to join the US military, would they lose their citizenship? Or if somebody were to join the French Foreign Legion, would they lose their citizenship? I don't think that's the case. I don't know. We don't. I need Night Raven. Night Raven, where are you? The legal expert. Night Raven, can you hear us? A white person from the UK has just lost UK citizenship. ISIS too. She's a political football, yes. I think every Tory cabinet member who broke the law in some way or another, in or out of COVID, should be kicked out of the country. No, they should be tried and sent to prison. She didn't join an army, she got married. Which complicates the situation as well. It's like she left the country to join somebody who was in the army, which is different because she didn't join. Although, in a sense, she did join ISIS, which is the Islamic State. It's not just an army. So the Islamic State was considered illegal, as far as I know. But I'm not an expert on this, and I haven't been following this case as closely as some of you. But I still think my principal problem with this is that you shouldn't create laws or precedences based on one individual. Although maybe I'm talking crap here, because you normally do create precedences on an individual case. But I don't agree with the idea of taking away people's citizenship. The government shouldn't have that power, because that's all you have. She should be, and I understand people are angry with her, and I think she's probably not a very nice person, because she has not renounced the Islamic State, as far as I know. So she is potentially dangerous. So I do think, but I think it's not about her. It's about the idea of the government taking away your citizenship, because it could happen to anyone. We think, well, yeah, but I didn't join ISIS or anything. No, but you don't have to later on. What if you're, what if you are protesting against a motorway, and then you leave the country on holiday, and then you're seeking to return, and the government say, actually, no, you are an eco-terrorist. We believe you're a threat to our country, and we're going to take away your citizenship. You say, you can't do that. Oh, we did it before. We can do it again. So, Jonathan Pye, I love a bit of pie. Okay, you can't pick and choose which laws you obey, yes. It's red meat to the racists, keeping people outraged at something. Yes, it's convenient. She's convenient. Oh, look, we have this brown person who did bad things, and did very bad things. But we have this brown... Artemis, great to see you on the stream. Max, she has been in a camp surrounded by ISIS guns. Of course, she hasn't renounced them. No, I didn't know where she's in... Where is she? Not in Turkey? Where is she at the moment? In a Syrian camp. Okay. Although I think her lawyer should say it. Her lawyer in the UK should say, look, don't tell anyone, but she's renounced it, okay? For her own safety, or something could be worked out. But I disagree with taking away the case itself is somewhat irrelevant to me. The more important thing is that the government should not have the ability to take away people's citizenship, because then you become truly a citizen of nowhere. Anyway, back to Keir Starmer. So it goes on to say, during Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday, Starmer said, now is not the time for tax rises on families and businesses. The Shadow Business Secretary Ed Miliband had previously backed moves to increase UK corporation tax, which is at the fourth lowest amongst 37 members of the OEDC. Labour appeared to soften its position on Wednesday night, suggesting the party would back a steady minimal increase later in the Parliament. See, this is just an open goal for the likes of Boris Johnson and the Tories. Stick to your guns. We're going to increase corporation tax. We're going to lower tax. See, once you start moving around, once you start saying, oh no, we're not going to do it, then Boris Johnson will be like, so you don't know where you are. Someday you're going to increase it, then you're not. And this is, businesses don't want this sort of confusion. Bashiro, great to have you on the stream. Stick to one position. Say, no, we're increasing taxes on corporations, on big businesses. You have to sell it the right way. We're decreasing taxes on families. That's what we're doing. You could even pick out names like Amazon and Google. They're going to pay corporation tax. They need to be taxed. Ordinary people are not. Shop owners are not. Small businesses are not. That's the way you need to sell it. Because people don't care about Amazon or Google or Apple, those companies being taxed. The general public don't care about them. They care about themselves being taxed. And it makes sense to tax the large corporations who haven't been paying any tax. Facebook, for example. I think Facebook paid something like £16 million in tax in the UK last year or the year before, on revenue of something like 3 billion. Buttons. But this idea of changing really is a bad idea, because it just leaves you open for accusations of being inconsistent. At least if you stick to, yes, we're going to increase taxes, but taxes on large corporations. You could even say large corporations. The Tories want to protect these large corporations. The Tories want to protect these companies from they don't want them to pay tax. We want them to pay tax. They are here. They have to contribute like everyone else does. Why should Amazon or why should Google or why should Apple not pay tax when you're paying tax? Why should you pay tax when they're not paying tax? That's the way you need to sell it. I don't think it's difficult. The Tories don't want them to pay tax. That's what you have to say. The Tories want them to get away with it, like their corrupt friends. I think Keir Starmer should start throwing around the word corruption in Parliament. Like, if Boris Johnson's able to lie, then maybe Keir Starmer should lie as well. Boris Johnson is taking backhanders in the car park. You might as well say it. It's a lie. Boris Johnson lies and he gets away with it. Why doesn't Keir Starmer lie as well? Matt Hancock is selling PPE from his three-wheeled van. Say something like that. UBI. Okay. I can't escape UBI, can I? It's like, shut up, Max. Start talking about UBI. Let me just show you this little bit. We have David Davis. David Davis will be our introduction to UBI. So this is about the budget, okay? I want to show you the budget. Yes, I will get to UBI, I promise, in just a moment, okay? I want to show you this from the budget that's coming on Wednesday, and then I will jump into UBI.
Economists are expecting the Chancellor on Wednesday to show he knows how to fill a black hole of about £40 billion to stabilise debt. He's thought to be eyeing rises in corporation tax and capital gains tax to help with that. And that's touched an already raw nerve amongst Tory MPs. David Davis is sufficiently worried he's threatened to vote against the budget and risk losing the party whip if the tax burden is increased.
The Conservative Party used to be a party that was for the smaller state and believed bringing down taxes grew the economy.
Well, that's still true.
That's still true.
Why is David Davis still around Why is David Davis not hiding in a, in a, I don't know, in a cabin somewhere in the mountains, in the forest? Why is he still being interviewed? He's a joke. When I didn't really know David Davis until it was 2 years ago when the Theresa May hired him to start the negotiations with Michel Barnier, and he turned up with nothing. Like, even I have a pen and paper for taking notes during the stream, but David Davis had nothing. Unless he was like, it's all up here, pointing to his head. It's all up here. Or maybe it was a tactic. I'm going to confuse the Europeans. They're expecting me to come in with a big folder of documents, and I'm going to come in with nothing, and that will, confuse Michel Barnier, and then he'd give us the deal we want because he'd be so confused. Maybe that was his tactic. Michel Barnier is like, who is this guy? This is the best they have. I would hate to see who the worst was. Maybe Mark Francois. Can you imagine if oh my God, I would have paid to see Mark Francois go to do the negotiations. He'd be like banging his fist on the table, Battle of Britain, okay, 1940, Battle of Britain. He'd be like, Michel Barnier, what? Excusez-moi?
Sure about that?
Yes, absolutely. If you cut corporation tax, generally speaking, you get more corporation tax than you thought you would get.
If you cut corporation tax, you get more than you expect. Sorry, maybe I misunderstood what he said here.
Corporation tax, generally speaking, you get more corporation tax than you thought you would get.
If you cut corporation tax, you get more than you expect. Okay.
If you cut capital gains tax, we found the same. These are not guesses. This is what's happened in the past.
But those are the two levers that the Chancellor's thinking of pulling.
Well, that's why I argue that you mustn't increase the tax burden.
Some Conservatives are wondering where the party is heading. Are the new supporters, one in seats like Sedgefield, shifting the Conservatives in a new direction?
A lot of the newer Tory voters, certainly compared to traditional Tory voters, they're more provincial, they're less prosperous, they're probably more interested in the security that the state can provide rather than trying to win freedom from the state.
Are we considering red Tories? Not sorry, should I say blue Tories? Blue Labour, no, red Tories. The sense that there are people, like, why would somebody vote for the Conservative Party if the Conservative Party represent a small state, small government? Why would poor people or the working class vote for the Conservative Party? I don't. I think many people jumped on board because of Boris Johnson and getting Brexit done. But after that, what is left for them? I think that's probably the reason why they've jumped on board this patriotism boat or bandwagon. Yes, we're patriots. Yes, we want to stop woke people. Yes, we want to stop, soy boys and stuff like this. But I still don't think that's enough for the working class. You need to sell them something, such as UBI. Look, I think if somebody sold UBI, but I'm afraid we're still too far away from UBI being sold to the public because it's too abstract at the moment. I think we're too far away from that.
In a poll asked if the government should generally raise taxes rather than cut spending, 47% said the former, 39% the latter. If you just look at Conservative supporters polled, it's 49% preferring the idea of raising taxes, 38% the idea of cutting spending. Because
they've gone through years of austerity, I think. even the working class who vote Tory. Once again, who the hell votes Tory in your working class? But racists? I don't know. Working class racists is I'm not voting for the Labour Party. I'm voting for the Tories. They take away my public services, but they really hate immigrants just like I do.
And the break amongst Labour supporters is the same way, though the margin is bigger. James Johnson
Actually, somebody asked a question. Tiger asked a question. If you had to choose between either UBI or £12 minimum wage, which would it be? A UBI. Because a minimum wage means that you have to work a certain number of hours. A UBI means you don't have to work any hours. And also, in order to have sorry, I'm reading the chat. Max, the majority of the electorate in the UK knows nothing of politics. General election, people asked who they vote for. Answer: when I get to the booth, frightening. Deciding when I get to the booth. Bigots vote Tory every time. No, but about the UBI, £12 an hour UBI. No, it can't, because then you have to say, then I need to work a certain number of hours. And then what jobs can you do? Some jobs may not exist. If you can't work, then you don't earn anything. So, but a UBI will cover you in the case of having a job or not having a job. Many people would work fewer hours. Some people may actually work more if they had a UBI, but they do work that they like. People would do more work because they like the work. Imagine having the option to say, actually, I'd like to do a job that I like instead of doing a job that I have to do because I need to pay bills or I need to live. Many people are doing jobs they don't like. The vast majority of people do jobs they don't like. Never voted Tory, never will. FSM, good to hear. Voting Tory is a balance between stupidity and selfishness. Whatever person's justification, it falls somewhere between the two. Very well said, Helen. And I would associate Brexit with that. The fishermen, generally, when you listen to some of the fishermen who voted for Brexit, when you dig a bit deeper, you realize it was, in many cases, greed. They wanted to fish more. The European Union were restricting them from fishing more because they were protecting stocks. Many stocks are close to complete exhaustion, complete eradication. There's a complete collapse of some types, some species of fish and seafood, types of fish. Okay, it's almost close to complete collapse in some areas, and the EU has stopped fishermen from fishing there in order to protect those stocks for the future. And the Brexiteers came along and said, look, we're going to take those protections away and you can fish to your heart's content. And some fishermen didn't care about the future. They just wanted to make money, lots of money now, and to hell with the future. To hell with, many of them don't care. They just say, I want to catch as much fish as I can and sell it off, sell as much of it as possible. But they hitched their wagon to the likes of Boris Johnson and more than that, Nigel Farage. Where the hell is Nigel Farage now? And why the hell aren't the fishermen who were conned by Nigel Farage, why aren't they banging on his door saying, where the hell is all this money that you had promised us? Where the hell is all this, sunlit uplands that you promised us? Robert, thank you so much for that super chat. Patriotism is the last refuge of the scoundrel. Well said, Samuel Johnson. Yes. No relation to Boris Johnson. It is. We have nothing left. Wave the flag. And the Conservatives have already gone in that direction. If you watch any of their interviews, you have a Union Jack behind them. They're in their own house and they have a Union Jack behind them. They have the bookshelf behind them. The Union Jack is always in sight because they know, well, if I don't have it, then people don't think I'm a patriot. You know, I can fuck my country, sorry for my language, but I can fuck my country over. But as long as I have a flag, people will think I'm a good guy and I care about my nation. Geraldine Doyle, thank you so much for that super chat. What do you think about the NHS facing legal challenges over the data deal with US firm Palantir? It secured a deal in March for £1 worth 23.5 million pounds. That's insane. I remember reading about Palantir in the past. I didn't know about this deal. Unfortunately, I'm not able to follow everything on. I try to cover as many things as I can during the day, but at the moment I have a lot of offline activities, and I want to finish those as soon as possible so I can get back into spending the day researching things like this. This is, you know, they were given access to NHS data. They paid £1. I think I talked about this in the past. And it was worth 23.5 million pounds. Someone is doing very well there. I know that the health minister, not Health Secretary Matt Hancock, but the health minister, he has connections. He's still working as a consultant for some private enterprises, some private corporations, companies. Like the health minister, who's a minister at the moment, he's also a consultant for a private company. And of course, they're winning contracts. So this could be also the case of Palantir. Ira, thank you so much for that super chat. The fishermen cannot invest in fortune business. Yeah, they can invest in Farage fortune, but I'm sorry about all the ads that appear on the videos, where especially the Farage ones. I have no control over that. Thanks to both Geraldine and Ira for that, and thank you, Helen. Thank you so much for that super chat. Fist bump, yeah, fist bump to you too, Helen. Thanks so much for that. Really, I do believe the fishermen should go and visit Boris Johnson's home. They should visit, of course, not, you know, protest, or just go and have a chinwag, have a cup of tea with Nigel Farage and explain, you know, how they're struggling at the moment. And surely Nigel Farage will explain how to get out of this mess. You know, with his 21 years of experience in the European Union, he'll know how to fix this. Or perhaps, you know, Nigel can put his hand in his pocket and help out some of these people who are suffering at the moment. You know, the people he convinced to vote for Brexit. Some of these people he convinced to vote for Brexit, surely he'd be willing to, you know, help them out now. He made a mistake. They suffer the consequences. Surely the least Nigel Farage could do is to, you know, either hand them over some cash, or at least organise some sort of event in order to help them to get through this difficult time. No, instead, Brexiteers are asking for the British government to put aside £500 million to help fishermen. But I'm going to do a video on that probably tomorrow. Farage, the fishermen.
Conducted polling for Theresa May in number 10. He says this is a big shift from where voters were a decade ago.
187 likes, guys. Smash that like button. Smash it. Lick it. Touch it. Whatever you're into. But that like button must be touched.
There's increasingly this view amongst voters, including those in the red wall seats that the Conservatives won in December 2019, that there is permission out there for tax rises if they're needed. Whether that's tax on higher earners, on business, but also actually whether that's tax for people themselves. As long as that's...
Why? Why do you need to tax individuals when there are corporations who are paying zero in tax, or close to zero? What is the point in going after ordinary people when you can take in huge amounts from people from corporations who have lots of money?
framed as fair. They see other people who they think should be paying more in, and it's seen as linked to sort of the national mission, so to speak, of paying back the debt after the coronavirus pandemic, then there absolutely is that room for manoeuvre and permission among.
Why is it always we need to, find a way to pay for this? We have to pay for that. How many subscribers? How many are subscribers? I don't know how many. Liked Seamasters. Thank you so much for that like. Yay! You rock. Drums to the bass whoop. This guy is a Tory shill. Yeah, I think I have a feeling.
Amongst voters and Conservative voters for higher taxes.
In the last election, you got a new voter base, and it does look as though there's a bigger appetite for raising taxes amongst the people who now support the Conservative Party. You've got a bit of an identity crisis.
I don't know where you got that idea from. I mean, I went
polling.
Yeah, well, polling's rubbish.
Voters were asked in this poll about different combinations of measures. What if tax thresholds were frozen and corporation tax was increased? 48% said they liked that idea, 15% were against. Asked if they wanted a national insurance rise for all, but proportionately hitting those better off harder, 51% agreed with the idea, 21% opposed it. There is no permission to raise taxes, which some people think they detect. There's a new dispensation out there, a new moon.
It's imagination. I mean, it's just not true. It wasn't true at the election. I don't see it as being true now. And anyway, I mean, it's a road to perdition.
You can't really have it both ways if you want to tackle the debt and you want to get the debt down. Really, you're only.
The Tories don't care about the debt. The Tories don't care about bringing down the debt. They pretend to care about the debt, and they use that fake, how can I say, pretension. Not pretension. Fake fear about debt or fake care about debt in order to convince the people we need to cut services. Oh, we have all this debt. We fought this pandemic. We have all of this debt. And now we have to get rid of it. We could increase taxes on corporations that aren't paying tax at the moment. But but if we do that, then these corporations will go away and they'll take jobs with them. So instead, we want, Joe who works 3 jobs in order to make ends meet. We can increase taxes on him, or we can take away, this community centre that provides opportunities, training for pretense. Sorry, this community centre that provides services to young people in a deprived area, because it's too expensive. We get rid of that, and we can save money. See? So we've succeeded. There are no consequences from taking services, vital services away from the poor and the working class. Fake ability to manage the economy and balance the books, fiscal responsibility. Tories, let us build some tunnels, taxpayers to life. It's like, why the hell are the Labour Party not banging on about the Boris Burrows? The Boris's black hole. Boris's watery hole. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Boris talking about building bridges. Boris talking about burrowing in the ground between Scotland and Northern Ireland. How much is that going to cost? How can we talk? How is that fiscal responsibility? Insane. Thatcher said that poverty is a personality defect. Thatcher was a personality defect. Didn't Thatcher fake an accent in order to sound more posh? I don't know if that's true or not. Interest rates are near zero. If the Brits don't think they're investing in their people right now, even if they mean some debt, that's really sad. Have some faith in yourselves. The DUP escape tunnel. Boris's tunnel to La La Land. Drug test, mandatory drug testing of all MPs. Yeah, well, unfortunately, Michael Gove would fail every test. But the massive debt occurred as a consequence of COVID will be through tax on the poorest and the less well off. Does blue ever change colour? No. You're right, 100%. But Max, it's a magical roundabout. Magical mystery tour. Doo-doo. Time for accountability. Time for a replacement. The Tories need to be out. So, guys, I have to move on to this topic before we get to the end of the stream because, well, no, I'd leave that for another time. So this is, of course, what's happening in Scotland. Now, I want to reach out to Indie Truck Davy to speak with him about this because I'm extremely ignorant about what's happening in Scotland. But it seems to me that former SNP leader Alex Salmond is attempting to throw Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister of Scotland, under a bus. Why he's doing that, I don't know. Is it going to damage the position of the Scottish government, the SNP? I think it will. Is it at the worst possible time? It definitely is. And could it undermine the chances of independence? I think it will. So why the hell is Alex Salmond talking about this now? Why is this an issue now? Is he working for the Tories? I don't know. Look, once again, I know very little about this. I haven't been following it, but I think it's extremely concerning, and it's probably the worst possible time for all of this.
His mask hiding his expression. As soon as the opening statement started, his defiant mood became clear. This was about to pack a punch.
The failures of leadership are many and obvious, and yet, convener, not a single person has taken responsibility, not a single resignation, not a single sacking. The government acted illegally, but somehow nobody's to blame. Scotland hasn't failed, its leadership has failed.
That's quite damning. Robert, thank you so much for that super chat. Davis's Cavalier response. Polling is rubbish. Yes. Thank you very much for that super chat. Eyes on the prize, folks. I think either Alex is being blackmailed or the Tories are paying him a lot of money. Isn't it interesting that this all appears now? Isn't it interesting that he's attacking the SNP now? Isn't it interesting that, there are two ways of looking at this. This is either sour grapes, or this is him acting on someone else's behalf, being paid to do it. Or, well, how many Scottish flags does he have? He has one on his lapel, and then he has a tie as well. He's missing a hat. He should have a hat as well.
He went on to reveal why, after years of scrutiny of his own behaviour, he still felt compelled to speak at the committee. And for him, it was a message that bears repeating.
I watched in astonishment on Wednesday when the First Minister of Scotland, used a COVID press conference to effectively question the result of a jury. Still, I said nothing. Well,
as far as I know, she was asked a question about that, so she was responding to a question. As far as I know, I don't think she brought it up during the. So she doesn't introduce these things. She was actually responding to a question, as far as I remember. Thank you very much, Vicky, for that super chat. Very kind of you. You rock.
That changes.
The evidence started slowly, but the second half ramped up, with Alex Salmond questioned on key meetings that would show who knew what when, particularly around the date of the 2nd of April, when he went to Nicola Sturgeon's home. For Mr Salmond, the topic was crystal clear.
So when Peter Murrell said it was a government matter and Nicola Sturgeon said it was a party matter,
it would appear that Peter Murrell was right on this occasion.
It was a government matter. It was about the complaints against me.
Then the session moved on to the big questions of who's responsible for handling this. The Conservative MSP, Murdo Fraser, asking just who should go. Alex Salmond had some suggestions.
I think the people responsible for the disaster of the judicial review, I think in terms of Scottish Government, the Crown Office, and in terms of the overall approach, the people who are responsible should resign. The people I've named, as I have the evidence for their behaviour, they should be all considering their positions.
If the First Minister has broken the ministerial code, should she resign?
Not for me. I believe the First Minister has broken the ministerial code, but that is a finding that can be discussed at least by the.
So, is it a problem for people to break ministerial code all of a sudden? I'm not saying that if didn't Matt Hancock break the ministerial code? Didn't Liam Fox break the ministerial code? They resigned. Well, one of them resigned, but it was I don't know. Did she break the ministerial code? I don't know. There are so many things I don't know about this.
This committee by Mr. James Hamilton. It's not the case that every minister who breaks the ministerial code resigns. I mean, your own party would have an example of that relatively recently. It depends on what is found and the degree by which the ministerial code has been broken. I've got no doubt that Nicola has broken the ministerial code, but it's not for me to suggest what the consequences should be.
It's important to remember this Holyrood inquiry has been brought about to look into the government's mishandling of sexual harassment complaints against Mr Salmond. But what also matters is the impact that this can potentially have on voters come May.
Nicola Sturgeon rejects Mr Salmond's claims and has insisted there is not a shred of evidence that there was a conspiracy against Alex Salmond, and has denied misleading Parliament. After hours of evidence...
So it doesn't matter whether she denies it or whether it's true or not. It depends on how the public feel. If the public feel she has done something wrong, then whatever she does after is irrelevant. Let's hear from Nicola Sturgeon before drawing conclusions. Yes.
It's a longer session than anticipated. What's left behind is a mountain of questions for Nicola Sturgeon, and next week it'll be her turn.
We will have to wait and see for her response to this, but I have a feeling it seems very convenient that it's happening just 2 months before, about 2 months before the elections in Parliament. The SNP are doing very well at the moment, and the Boris bunch don't seem to be doing very well at stopping Nicola Sturgeon. It seems convenient that, look, I don't like getting into conspiracies, but it seems convenient that Alex Salmond, who was, a problem, the Tories didn't like him, and now they're saying, singing his praise. Isn't that strange? How they were used to use him as a whipping boy in Parliament until recently, and now they are able to say, oh look, he's coming forward and being honest, whatever. But I would really like to speak to somebody in Scotland about this. 22 polls in a row for independence. I think the independence, the people within the independence movement need to focus on independence and see this perhaps. This is irrelevant to independence, because, as I said before, independence is not Nicola Sturgeon. Nicola Sturgeon and the SNP are a vehicle for the independence movement. But the Conservatives and the Labour Party will attack the SNP on a continual basis, with the idea that if we bring down the SNP, then we stop independence. No, that's not going to happen. It will damage it, perhaps, but people will still want to be independent. Because at the end of the day, what comes after may not be Nicola Sturgeon as Prime Minister of Scotland. It could be someone else. But the alternative is to continue with Boris Johnson as Prime Minister or the Conservative Party in charge. That's the option you have. Do you want someone, maybe Nicola Sturgeon or someone else as your Prime Minister, or do you want the Tories? Because the Tories are going to remain in power for the foreseeable future. And the way Keir Starmer is moving, it could be even longer. Is acting, it could be longer than that. The movement is bigger than the SNP, yes. And I think unionists in Scotland and outside Scotland don't understand that. I'm not an expert on Scotland in any way at all, but I can see how the independence movement is not the SNP. It's not only the SNP, it's bigger than the SNP. If the SNP were to collapse, would it damage chances of independence? Yes, it definitely would, but it would not kill it off. And it could actually make it stronger because people would rally to a new leader and they would say, look, the SNP were not the ones we needed. We needed somebody perhaps who truly believed in independence. Why would Alex Salmond be trying to stop? Why is he doing this if he cares about independence? Wait until after the elections. Why is all of this coming out now? Anyway, guys, we're at the end of the stream tonight. I wanted to talk about the United States, but I may leave that for another stream. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who came on the stream tonight. A super big thank you to everyone who sent a super chat. Thank you so much for all of those. Kate Forbes. Kate Forbes, yes. No, it won't be Kate Forbes I'll be interviewing. So we all hate Alex now. Ira, thank you so much for that super chat at the very end. Night Max, Night All, great commentary. Thank you so much for that. Great to have you on the stream. I wish you a very nice weekend. So guys, thanks to all the moderators as well, doing a fantastic job as always, keeping the stream on the straight and narrow, keeping the trolls away. But before we finish, we have our one for the road. So I'll just bring that up. Hopefully this is a little bit longer than usual, but I'm sure you will enjoy it before we finish for the stream tonight. Of course, remember you can support the channel by becoming a patron, and when you become a patron, you have instant access to Discord, or almost instant. You have access to Discord. Let me just put it that way. And if you can't support the channel, I understand many people are going through a difficult time at the moment. You can support the channel by sharing videos on Facebook or on Twitter or on other social media, on TikTok if you want, anywhere you can. That's greatly appreciated. So let's get into our final video for tonight, our funny video, one for the road. Please work. Yes.
Look, I just think the house is really, really cramped. I just think the house is really, really cramped. I've been wanting to live alone for ages. He's moving out soon anyway. And I suppose with all that in mind, it might just be time for you to, move on. And sorry, weren't you saying, yeah, I'd be happy to have you in my place. There's a room on the top floor, be perfect for you. Thank you. But, we've always lived together. We kind of always will live together. So, yeah, just kind of happy out with the lads, really. What lads? He's moving out. Although, he did say that 6 years ago, so we'll have to wait and see. And to be blunt, I've kind of never wanted you here, to be honest. You cost me a fortune, and you're extremely disagreeable. No, I'm not. Hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, guys, but just to say, if you do choose to come live with him, you'd be more than welcome to hang out at my place then too. Okay. Pool table, plasma screen, great parties, free stuff. Oh, can I come? No, because of... Can I? No. Didn't want to anyway. I mean, it sounds cool, but I suppose with respect, it just wouldn't be worth it because, his place is a kip. It's not perfect, no, but, we've cleaned it up and modernised it a lot since you last saw it. It's a damn sight nicer than where you are at the moment. So, final recap. Never wanted you. heading off soon anyway, supposedly, willing to take you in spite of the fact that you despise him and everything he stands for, thus gaining you access to his really cool place, which I don't miss at all. Look, I can see what you're trying to do here, and it's really noble and all that, but where you guys go, I go. Doesn't anyone care what I think? Shh. I might leave someday, you know?
Very, very nice. That's the calmest loyalist I've ever seen. Actually, I thought the same thing as well. So, guys, thank you so much for coming on the stream tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you all next Tuesday. Poor Wales. I'll see you all next Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel for the next stream. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. And as Boris Johnson always says, stay alert. So I'll see you soon. Have a great weekend and have a great one. What else can I say? Good night. See you soon.